Giorgio Cafiero is the chief executive and founder of Gulf State Analytics, a geopolitical risk consultancy based in Washington, D.C. He joins us now live from there. Giorgio, thanks so much for being with us on Al Jazeera. Publicly, Jordan has fiercely resisted what's been put forward by President Trump so far. King Abdullah has also said Arab nations will come to the U.S. with a response to Washington's Gaza takeover plan. What do you expect we'll hear going forward when it comes to formulating this forthcoming response?
Yeah, great to be on your program. Good to be with you. I think it's pretty clear that the Jordanian leader does not want to really have any sort of public feud with Donald Trump. And when he was meeting with him earlier today in Washington, he was clearly uncomfortable, but he was being very diplomatic. And I think the King of Jordan is making it clear that the Arab countries are going to come together and have sort of a unified message to deliver to the Trump administration. It's very clear that the Arab governments consider Trump's idea to be a total non-starter. If this plan were to be implemented, we would see crises in both Egypt and Jordan that could threaten the survival of the governments. The influx of a massive number of Palestinian refugees would pose an existential crisis, a huge threat to the ruling governments. And so many other Arab countries have high stakes and stability prevailing in Egypt and Jordan. So I think the message from all of these Arab governments is that a forced displacement of the Palestinians from Gaza into Egypt, Jordan, and or some GCC states crosses a red line. And I think the Arab statesmen will be very firm in this position.
Giorgio, the optics of King Abdullah and President Trump sitting together, they were smiling, and there were no real specifics offered as to next steps and proposals. But how difficult must that meeting have been for King Abdullah? I mean, this is a tough diplomatic needle to thread, right?
You're absolutely right. I think it's really difficult to disagree with what you said. Jordan is a close U.S. ally. The country's economy very much depends on U.S. support, and there are huge economic problems in the country. So the leadership, of course, has to take very seriously the possibility of U.S. Permanently cutting off aid to Jordan. At the same time, public opinion matters a lot in Jordan, just like in any country around the world. And leaders have to make foreign policy decisions with public opinion, their own domestic constituents in mind. As I said, if there were to be forced displacement of Palestinians into Jordan, something like a Nakba 2.0, that would fuel a tremendous amount of chaos and unrest in a country that's barely hanging on to the stability that it does have right now. So as you rightly pointed out, King of Jordan has to strike a very, very delicate balance.
Giorgio, we heard in the last few hours also from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he said that the ceasefire deal is off unless all the captives are released by Saturday. But we've also heard from Israel that Qatar is exerting pressure on both parties to resolve this latest crisis. Talk to us about how in peril you think the Gaza ceasefire is right now, and do you think, from your vantage point, that the ceasefire will hold?
I am not very optimistic about the ceasefire. I think that Trump's rhetoric about Gaza, his threats to have the U.S. take over Gaza and to ethnically cleanse the enclave, raises questions about what motivations Hamas would have for continuing to go ahead with the ceasefire process. At the same time, we can't ignore what's going on in the West Bank, with Israeli aggression intensifying against the Palestinians in the West Bank. That also dims the prospects for the ceasefire going through phase 1 and then entering phase 2, phase 3. I don't think salvaging the process is impossible. I think it's very important that there are actors in the region, such as Qatar, who are trying to prevent the ceasefire deal from collapsing in acrimony. But like I said, the rhetoric from Trump, as well as the whole situation in the West Bank, leave me quite pessimistic about the ceasefire.
All right, that's Giorgio Cafiero. He's the CEO and founder of Gulf State Analytics, a geopolitical risk consultancy based in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us here on Al Jazeera, Giorgio.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.